Hello and welcome back. That beautiful encore was October by Tchaikovsky. We had some people scrabbling backstage to try and find out what that was because we didn't expect an encore, but how beautiful was that? And an absolutely gorgeous performance of Rachmaninov's second piano concerto. I'm joined by a new member of the LSO family. This is Alix. I've forgotten again how to pronounce your surname. Tell me again.
Lagasse.
Lagasse.
Yes.
So tell us, where are you from? How did you get to the LSO?
I'm from Belgium. However, I studied here in London, so I've been here quite a few years. And just as I was finishing college last year, I auditioned for the LSO. And since then have been on trial for quite a while and finally got offered the job this year.
Wow, so you must be currently one of the youngest in the orchestra, I would guess.
Probably. I think there's Pete, who's pretty young. But I think probably me and one of the other girls who just joined, we are the youngest, definitely in the string section.
Yeah. We should mention that Pete Moore is the principal trombone, who's about 21, got the job when he was a teenager, which is a bit disgusting. People always ask me, how do you get a job in the LSO? So what's the process?
Well, as I said, I was very lucky that auditions opened up for a violin spot as I was about to leave college, because obviously you have to be a bit lucky. Those places don't sort of come by every few months or every year, you know. It really takes a while before there's a vacancy. So I got very lucky that a couple of months before I was graduating, there were some auditions, and I thought, well, I might try.
Give it a go.
I did do the string scheme, you know, the scheme for the schools a couple of years back. So I kind of knew a little bit about the LSO and obviously loved them. So I thought, I'm just going to try it and I'll see what happens. So I did that, and that was back in June 2017. Got offered the trial, and then basically what happens is you come into the orchestra quite a few times throughout your whole trial period. Within the section that you're picked for, you're sitting next to all of the members of the section because they want to make, you know, they have an opinion on you, basically want to sit with you, experience what it's like to play with you. And that goes over quite a while, obviously. And then, eventually I got offered the job.
And how happy and excited were you when you got that?
I was in shock. I was literally in shock. It was in the middle of a rehearsal, actually, a rehearsal day here at the LSO, which was still part of my trial, basically. And during the lunch break, Garrett, who was chairman at the time, came up to me and said, "Can I talk to you?" And I was very worried because I thought, oh God, what does that mean? I didn't realize that he was the one who was going to offer me the job. So it was a bit stressful. And he took me to the corridor and was like, "I have some news for you," and gave me the paperwork and was like, "Welcome to the LSA." And as I went back into the rehearsal room where everyone was getting ready to start the afternoon, they were all cheering because they all knew it was going to happen at that point. And obviously I was the only one who was unaware. So it was really kind of shocking and very relieving, and I felt all the feelings that afternoon, and actually for a few weeks, was starting to make mistakes in the next rehearsal because I was just kind of so stressed and overwhelmed that I couldn't focus anymore on what was going on. It was really quite something.
So it's the dream job, basically.
Absolutely.
I mean, there are 7 orchestras in London, and we are known for having the most punishing schedule.
Yes.
So you could have probably been in any of them, but what makes the LSO so special? Why is it the dream job?
I think it's just, you know, as punishing, you know, if it's not a great word, is it? As it is, that's how rewarding it is as well. You know, the two go together. One doesn't go without the other one. It's not that, you know, you're slaving away for no reason. No, you get to play with the best players, the best orchestra, with the best conductors, the best soloists. So that's what you do it for, you know. And eventually, however tough it is, every day or every week, or, you know, sometimes the schedule is really intense. At the end of it, you are always happy and relieved, you know. Even in the middle, if you feel a bit tired and you feel like, oh, I don't know if we can do another concert, another rehearsal, at the end of it, it just feels like, oh my God, you know, I'm so lucky, and you hear the audience clap, and it just feels amazing.
Yeah. And what's been, I know you've not been here very long, but what's been a highlight so far?
Well, actually, this week is quite special for me because Gianandrea, I had a large tour with him in China as part of my trial, and actually that tour I had to go and sit up all the way next to Roman as part of my trial, which is very stressful, you know, going to sit next to the concertmaster of the LSA, and I had a few little solos, and Gianandrea was just amazing. He was so supportive and, you know, really, really understanding that, you know, it's not something that I do every day, right? So it feels really nice actually to work with him again, this patch. And in terms of what's coming, obviously I'm really looking forward to South America, as we all are. It's going to be very nice. Yeah, you know, lots of nice things coming up.
Wow, well, welcome to the LSO.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming to me, and I hope to see you in school one day.
Yes.
Yes,
definitely.
that's the next thing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks. Oh, should just mention that the LSO has a huge discovery department which goes into school and works with children across East London and elsewhere, and I'm always trying to get lovely young new players to come and help me out in school. Right, that was a lovely chat, wasn't it? She's a very good addition to our orchestra. At the end of this concert, we have Shostakovich's first symphony, which we keep mentioning he wrote when he was just 18 years old. And to tell us just how unique and special that is, here's a short film with David Bruce.
For any creative artist, the best starting point is always to imitate the things you love. Usually these early efforts are deeply embarrassing and things we're quite happy to never let see the light of day again. My own first schoolboy composition, for example, mashed up bits of West Side Story, Rhapsody in Blue, and some pop song I remember used a vaguely exotic modal scale. But for most of us, these early efforts don't lead to overnight international success, much less do they become part of the standard repertoire of orchestras around the world 100 years later. But amazingly enough, this is exactly what happened to Shostakovich, who was just 18 when he wrote his first symphony. The piece was actually written as a graduation piece for his studies at the Leningrad Conservatory. It's possibly the youngest age for a composer of a piece that has become part of the standard repertoire, even including more famously precocious composers like Mozart, whose early works aren't regularly played in the way this one is. The achievement is even more remarkable when you consider the scale of the symphony. This is a fully fledged piece that, as conductor Mark Wigglesworth describes, covers all the trademark musical gestures we would come to associate with the composer in later years. Nervous tension and sarcastic wit, passion and intelligence, contemplation and action, nobility and banality, all expressed with an economy of means that is simultaneously subtle and direct. But what I find particularly fascinating is how, alongside these clearly mature traits, you can also sense that young composer finding his voice, imitating the best composers around him. As you listen to the piece, the ghosts of other composers drift in and out of view. Not just Russian compatriots like Stravinsky, Prokofiev and Tchaikovsky, who are all there, but further afield, hints of the late Romantic sounds of Mahler and Wagner, and hints toward more forward-looking contemporaries from Central Europe, the muted cellos and chamber music textures of Albanberg's Wozzeck and Schoenberg's Piero Lunaire. You might even detect the influence of Shostakovich's work as a silent film accompanist in the quick cuts between sections and in the tendency to expressive extremes that the piece has. To me, what holds it all together into a coherent piece of music is a feature that would go on to become a key aspect of Shostakovich's style, the focus on a very small quantity of thematic material, that economy of means that Wigglesworth talks about. Take the first movement of the symphony, for example. The surface texture of the music chops and changes. It feels almost collage-like the way one colour rubs up directly alongside another. But in terms of the actual musical material used, the movement maintains a laser-like focus on the two principal themes, which one commentator described as a cheeky march and a teasing waltz. So that despite the surface changes, there's a huge sense of unity throughout the whole movement. Now, we're always being told that the older Shostakovich was forced to tread a tightrope between his own artistic desires and the strict party lines on artistic styles and approaches that were considered acceptable under Stalin's terrorizing rule. But in this amazing work, we hear how much of Shostakovich's voice was there from the outset. All the dichotomies we're used to hearing in his later works between the unified and the fragmentary, between the personal and the parodied, and between anguished emotion and sarcastic wit. All of those are here in this, his first major work. Not bad for an 18-year-old.
Welcome back. Before I tell you about what's happening in the second half of our concert, a short moment to repeat our fundraising message. So if you're enjoying tonight's concert, please consider giving us a small donation to lso.co.uk/donate, and anything that you can give us, we are hugely grateful. We really want to continue bringing you the highest quality music making wherever you are and for free. Our next stream is on the 5th of May and features Sir Simon Rattle conducting works by John Adams and Hector Berlioz. It's Symphony Fantastique, which is one of those showpieces that this orchestra is so famous for. So that's going to be a terrific concert, and we'll be with all the backstage action here from about 6:30. So in the second half, we have a piece by Balakirev, his Oriental fantasy Islamey. So he had this amazing idea of gathering around him young Russian composers and creating this new Russian nationalist sound. But the problem was it took him ages to finish writing any music, and some of his younger contemporaries got much more famous before he did, most notably Rimsky-Korsakov and Mussorgsky. This piece is the exception to the rule. It actually took him just 1 month to create. He was inspired by a visit to the Caucasus Mountains, where he loved the landscape, but more importantly, he heard two tunes, which he puts into this piece. The fiery tune at the beginning was played to him by a gypsy violinist, and later on, there's a calmer, dance-like theme that was sung to him by an Armenian actor, if you believe these stories. This piece became a showpiece for solo pianists and one of the most difficult pieces to play on solo piano. And then in 1909, it was fleshed out for the orchestra by Italian composer Casella. That's how you're going to hear it tonight. And it suffers nothing from being spread out across the full orchestra. It's a wonderful piece. If it's the first time you're hearing it, you're in for a treat. And after that, we have Shostakovich's First Symphony, as we keep saying, written when he was still a teenager as his graduation piece from university. And it really does set the stall for what's to come in the rest of his career as a great symphonist. The first movement's got lots of solo-y moments and a sort of feeling of vaudeville about it, because that was what Shostakovich was into as a teenager. And really, it's a battle between two themes, a twisted march and a twisted waltz. And those are the kind of ideas we get throughout the rest of his works. The second movement is a fiery concerto, it's a fiery scherzo, and within that there are lots of solos again passed across the orchestra. Most notably, you'll hear a lot from the piano, which is a kind of new sound to find that in the middle of a symphony. And then the third movement, things turn a bit dark and gloomy. The third and fourth movements run completely back to back with only a drum roll tying them together. And it is all a bit gloomy from then on. You can't really tell when the fourth movement starts and the third movement finishes. But the piece ends happily with lots of fanfares coming from the brass section. And again, it's nodding at what Shostakovich was going to do so well in the future. So that's all coming up after a few more minutes of seeing what's going on stage. I hope you enjoy it, and I will see you on the 5th of May for Sir Simon Rattle and Symphony Fantastique. Thanks for watching. Bye.